Have you heard about the new CONOCO tank cars that were recently produced by San Juan Car Company in both HOn3 and O scales? Welcome to part 16 of my continuing series on model railroad operations. I'm your host, Burr Stewart. Today we're going to go ahead and take these CONOCO oil cars on their first inaugural run on the HOn3 branch line on my otherwise standard gauge HO scale Burlington Northern Railroad. Along the way we'll do some switching, some rail fanning, weathering, and demonstrate the use of car cards and waybills during operations. We'll start off with a westbound local freight coming into the town of Paradise to pick up all the oil cars that are waiting for it there. The first thing we have to do is stop so the brakeman can get out and flip the switch for the siding. On the spur track next to the backdrop, you can see the two CONOCO cars and their bright shiny new paint jobs to the right of the three older Gramps tank cars. We'll see about weathering them later in this video. Next thing we need to do is uncouple the locomotive so that we can reach into the spur and pick up those cars. I'll try to use the whistle signals appropriately, but we'll see how well I succeed. As you all probably know, one toot means stop, two toots means go in the forward direction, and three toots means back up. Now that we've picked up our 5 cars, we need to back on to the rest of our train. This small town of Paradise is fictional, but it's based on a town in Montana called Paradise along the Northern Pacific Main Line. And there was a famous saloon there called the Pear-a-Dice Saloon. Get it? Ho, ho. So we have that saloon here in the town. It's a little red building to the left of the view that you have now. You can see it if you rewind the movie slightly. Alright, well we're hooked up and we need to charge the air in all 7 of our tank cars and get our train orders from the dispatcher and the station there. And then we can pull forward to the end of the siding. That mountain on the backdrop is meant to represent Mount Bering, which overlooks a nice lake you can hike to called Barkley Lake, located on the west flank of the Cascade Mountain Range. Well, now it's time to get organized with our car cards. You can see the gray card is the engine card, and the card on the right there with the red on the edge is the caboose card, and we have our 2 original tank cars that were in the train in between. Now if we look up on the ceiling, we can see where I located the car card pockets for Paradise, and out of the spur there, the oil spur, we can pull the car cards for the oil tankers and put them in the train just behind the locomotive card. Here are the new 5 car cards that we're picking up. And now we've inserted them in the right position in the car card deck. So now we're ready to head off. I should have stopped to let the brakeman get out and throw that switch, I'm now realizing. Well, I guess that's my first, but probably not only operational mistake so far. This area of the layout here is going to eventually be a couple of beautiful curving trestles, but for right now you can see it's just scenic plywood holding down the fort for the moment. We're entering a 1.5 turn spiral helix, and it's a very awkward arrangement, but it allows me to keep the grade down to about 3%, which allows some of these Blackstone locomotives to pull at least a minimal number of cars up the hill. This C19 number 41 it was only capable of pulling 3 or 4 cars up the helix, but as you can see here, coming down, it's happy to pull all 7 of these oil tank cars plus the caboose. In this section of the layout, I've used 1/4 inch plywood to support the track, and one of these days I'll figure out how I'm going to scenic this area, but you stay tuned. I'll probably show it to you in live streams and in terminal videos. Now we're coming through the final cut, approaching Delta Yard in Everett, which is the very end of the 7th Division of the Denver and Rio Grande Western after it made it all the way out to the West Coast in 1970. I actually realized last night I should name it the Everett Division, since the Colorado portion was called the Alamosa Division in the later years. It looks like the yardmaster has given us permission to enter the yard, and we've got the bell ringing, and so we'll see how the C19 can do on the flattened level with all these cars. Oops, hung up on a turnout. That's probably one of the glad hands hanging down from one of the new CONOCO cars. I probably will trim them a little more to make sure they don't come into contact with any track or rails. Those are some very beautiful models. I just need to do a little weathering so they fit in with the rest of the fleet. The oil loading dock is a facing point turnout, which means that we have to run around the train with our locomotive before we shove the tank cars into the loading dock, which is off to the right of the engine there. You all know what a runaround maneuver is, so maybe I'll speed up this video a little bit for that part of it. Whee! There, that wasn't too painful. I don't know about you, but I find it hard to get tired of watching a steam engine doing its thing. You just have to imagine steam and smoke billowing out of the stack. Now we're going to couple onto the back of the caboose. Hopefully we can keep from knocking the conductor off his chair. Now all that's left is to shove these oil cars into the loading platform. You can see to the right of the track that we're entering, there's a standard gauge spur, and that normally has standard gauge oil tank cars on it. And sometime soon I'll build a transfer platform to go in between those two tracks so that the job can get done. The transfer this oil coming all the way from the Farmington branch in Colorado to refineries in the Seattle area. I think for this video we accidentally lucked out. Is that redundant? Because 7 cars turns out to be the capacity of this spur. So we were able to just put our entire train right there to be unloaded. Something obstructed the cars just a little bit at the end. I'm not sure what it was. I'll look into that. Now we uncouple the caboose and pull back. Oh no, it derailed. And then shorted out on the turnout. We like to give you the full range of model railroading experiences in these videos. I'd say that about wraps it up, except there's one important thing that we still need to go over, and you know what it is. Yes, car cards and waybills. The locomotive and caboose is parked on the narrow gauge main for the moment. So we'll put those 2 cards there. And then over to the right we have a bin specifically for the oil transfer platform. We'll put all 7 of those car cards in order in that oil bin. Let's just take some more time to linger over the beauty of these new CONOCO oil cars. They're a very welcome addition to the narrow gauge fleet. But actually the lack of weathering is driving me crazy, so let's just go back to the workbench and weather one of them and see how much better it looks. Look at that gorgeous underbody detail. You can hardly see it in the jet black plastic. But there's an easy solution to that, which is to brush it with pan pastel. I use a light gray beige color called Raw Umber Tint, and it's number 780.8. In a matter of seconds, the whole car looks dusted and you can see the underbody detail. Nice. I like to apply it to the entire car, but I won't make you sit through that, so we'll just speed up this part of the video. How do you like it? Of course, there's a lot more and better weathering we could do, but for now, at least, it looks better than it did. And I'm comfortable bringing this video to a close. Here's an overview of the yard we were just in. And some other time we'll do more operations both on the narrow and the standard gauge. So for now, this is Burr Stewart wishing you much fun with trains.